Good evening, Queen City Toastmasters. I am Cameron Hamrick, your Sergeant at Arms. Welcome to the October 17th, 2023 meeting. For our first-time guests, thank you so much for being here. A little bit of logistics for you. Bathrooms are behind me. Go around this way for all of them because we don't want you having a safety incident over here on all of our wires. We haven't gone completely wireless yet, but one of these days we might. So bathrooms will be around this hallway. Women's will be right here. Men's will be over here. This microphone is not broken. It is just connected to our Zoom so our Zoom guests can hear us. But when you're up here or talking in general, please be loud because as much as we like our temperature controlled AC and heat unit back there, it is loud. So you got to talk over it. So can you hear me okay? No? Okay. You want me to project one more decimal? Like this loud? Wow, that is loud. Okay, so before I turn it over to our presiding officer, I wanted to just mention one thing. Tomorrow, October 18th, is Wear It Pink Day. And we're going to, for support of breast cancer awareness. So if you live long enough, you will know somebody who's affected with this disease, or you might be affected with this disease yourself. So show your support. Hopefully one day we can beat this thing. So, all right, with that, I will turn it over to our presiding officer. Please help me welcome Dr. Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Toastmaster Cameron. I was clapping for you, not for me. Good evening, everybody. If you've never been to a Toastmasters meeting, please raise your hand. So we have a couple of people who are first timers, and I see a few other people here who are returning guests. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who have never been to a meeting, people will come up here and explain their roles, and so you'll be able to follow along with all of us for the meeting. I want to remind everybody of two things. One, when you're coming up to do your role, if it's planned ahead of time, we have what are called our on-deck circles. So come up to the front of the room so we can keep things moving. And the second, this is a big challenge to our club, evidently, is to stay on time. So we allocate minutes for each section. And if you're coming up here to do a specific role, please check that you are on time. Without further ado, I would like to hand the microphone over to Colin, our VP of Membership, who will now welcome and interview our guests. So please join me in welcoming Colin.
Thank you very much, President Eric. Why do I feel like you were calling me out with that time remark? It's true, though. I am patient zero for just absolutely terrible time management. So I'm working on that. Good evening, Queen City. I thought this week was going to be the week that we could have a one-hitter quitter. I'd only have to do that once, but we're going to have to do it again because that was lackluster. You ready? Need to take a quick breath? Good evening, Queen City. Marginally better, but we'll take it. We'll take it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Queen City Toastmasters, Charlotte's oldest Toastmasters club. For generations, people have been coming here to this very church. I think it's always met in this church, right? Almost always met in this church, but never mind that. For generations, people have been coming to Queen City Toastmasters to find the great communicator that resides inside of them. As Eric mentioned, we love to kick off our meetings by having our guests introduce themselves. So I'm going to bring the microphone around. When you receive it, please just share your name, where you're from, and what brought you out tonight. And then be ready for this. At the end of the meeting, I'm going to come back around, and I want to hear your thoughts, our guests. So I'm going to start over here with my colleague who actually showed up tonight of her own volition. We've never talked about Toastmasters together. Just kindred spirits, like minds. Renee? Would you like to introduce yourself?
No. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Renee. I live or reside in Gastonia, but I work for the city of Charlotte along with Colin. He's one of my, I guess, city work colleagues. No. He didn't recognize me when I came in either. He was just talking to me and just had no clue who I am. But anyway, we straightened that out. So I learned about Toastmasters from another function and saw it on the website, just surfing around the city website, and saw that there was a couple of meetings that were coming up. So I said, yeah, why not? Been in any time, then good as time as any. So I thought I would take advantage of learning what all this is about. And I made it here in one piece, so I'm good.
Got a familiar face over here, Adrian. Yeah, she is.
Good evening. My name's Adrienne. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I've been here about 10 months. I was encouraged by a colleague to do Toastmasters. I speak on a regular, but it feels very different speaking here. Trying to learn not to talk in large tangents. So that's why I come out to Toastmasters. I just feel like it'll hone my professionalism. And that's all I want to say right now. So thank you for the opportunity to be here with you.
We got a first timer over here, Jack. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. Everyone, my name's Jack Salis. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I moved down here about 2 years ago. Been loving Charlotte ever since. And I decided to come to Toastmasters because I heard that it would really help with public speaking. I'm pretty good at putting in a bunch of filler words, and I heard that there's someone that counts those. So that'll be interesting whenever someone starts counting all of mine, and someone might already have. But it's I've heard that it's very helpful. I'm in a sales role now, so I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And much to our delight and relief, the Canadians are back tonight.
Hello, everyone. My name's Alex. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I've been to a few meetings now as a guest, and I've already noticed a significant improvement from my first day. So I'm excited to continue moving forward, hopefully as a member after this week.
Thank you. Thank you. We good? There we go. Henry. Henry, that's right.
Hello, I'm Henry. I'm here to listen to my mom's speech. I was here last time and excited to be back.
Excellent. Welcome back, Henry. We always love it when it's a family affair here at Queen City Toastmasters. I just want to pass the mic to our newest member, Avinash. He's currently in the process of finalizing his membership. Avinash, why did you decide to come back to us? Former member, stepped away for a few years, but decided that Queen City family is the best family, right?
Yes. Hi. Good evening, friends. My name is Avinash. I live in Valentine. I moved to Charlotte 5 years back. I was part of this club 3 years back during COVID times. Then I decided to join in person. 3 weeks. This is my third week. I decided to join the club as a member now. Simple reason, I wanted to get better at public speaking. Last 3 weeks, I could see in person it makes a lot of difference. And just like all of you, I want to get better at public speaking. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Avinash. The blood pact will come in a ritual ceremony in the back with all the members after the meeting, so you can prepare yourself for that. And let's give it up one more time for Jack and Renee, our first timers tonight. With that, I'll turn it back over to President Laxer.
Thank you, Colin. I know we will be hearing more from you shortly. It is an honor for me to introduce our Toastmaster of the day today, because she is an author, an educator, a pastor, not a pastor, but she's an author and an educator, minister. She is a featured speaker, and if you want to hear her at an upcoming event, she will be speaking at Soren Help, Hope, and Healing. It's an event Saturday, November 4th. Did I get that correct, Andrea? And very impressively, Andrea recently completed level 5 and therefore completed the entire coaching pathway, which she has been working on for how long? A year and a half, which is a great accomplishment that all of us should be proud having witnessed her do that. So please join me in welcoming and congratulating our Toastmaster of the day, Andrea Chocolate Butterfly. We can't hear you up here, guys.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric, for that acknowledgement. And I am your Toastmaster today. I call it the MC of Toastmasters, and which is something funny that I signed up for this role. And I don't do this at church. I hate MC. So, but I love doing it here because it's home. So I will be doing some interesting things today. But first of all, we want to invite our Toastmaster, Bill Fontaine. He is doing an inspirational thought on civic duty. And I think he's ready. Isn't it unique how he always gets someone?
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Yeah, I gotta use this. Well, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guest. I'm Bill Fountain. All right. And I'm here to talk about, it's election time is coming around, so it's a very important thing to think about our civic duty. And what is that? That's a term that refers to our responsibility. It's a shared responsibility that we have with our society. And some of the other things that it also brings us certain rights and privileges and protections. Citizenship connects us to our fellow citizens in our nation, and we have shared values like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And unlike paying taxes and the laws of driving, voting is a voluntary civic duty. It provides us a way to be able to, participate in our society. And it also gives us a way to be able to shape that society of having our voice heard. Now, you know from history that Alexander Hamilton said about this is that people get in the government, they get the government they deserve. And one of the interesting things is President Garfield had something, I'll quote right here, is that now more than ever, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it is intellectual, if it is pure, and if it is brave, then that the people are demanding high qualities for them of their representatives to represent them in the legislature. And of course, the legislature could be any type of government or public office, for instance, like the town council, the school board, etc. Now, based on on history, if you look back at the last time that we had the town of the Charlotte City Council and the town councils around the Mecklenburg County and the school board, where they all were always on the ballot, that was in 2019, and there was only a 17% turnout for that vote. So the Mecklenburg Board of Elections have set up 19 early voting sites starting on October the 26th through November the 7th. November the 4th, and the general election on the November the 7th. So let's go back and think about what Alexander Hamilton and Garfield said. And that tells us a story is that we need to investigate our candidates and then go out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Bill. That was a great reminder that we do need to vote, and we do have that civic duty to do so. Where did my paper just go? Okay. Miss Bill, did you take my paper? Okay, I'm like, I came up here prepared and there's some stuff missing. So right now I'm going to introduce, I'm not up here alone. The cheese does not stand alone. So the butterfly does not stand alone. I have a team today. And so I'm going to invite some of the people from my team to give a brief scenario of what their job is for today. So the first person I'm going to call is Jamie Richardson, Toastmaster Jamie, who is our grammarian.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So Jack, yes, I am your humble grammarian tonight. And that means I have a three-faceted role. I will be listening for use of filler words, which might make us less effective. I will be listening for particularly powerful and inspirational language that helps us bring our message with more clarity, with more passion. And I have the privilege of providing tonight's word of the day. If I cannot drop your thing. And the word of the today is evoke. And evoke, the definition of evoke is to call forth emotions or feelings. And a definition for evoke is the poem evoked the joys of childhood. So I encourage all of our speakers to use the word of the day. I will be keeping track and I will deliver our grammarian's report at the end in the evaluation meeting.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jamie, for evoking us to fill out words instead of filler words. I was about to say so I didn't want to do that. So our next person in our team is Tanishi Patel. Am I saying your name right? Yes. Tanishi Patel is our timer, and she's going to tell us a little about her role today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Andrea. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Tonight, I will be your timer. As timer, I have two responsibilities. One is to time how long you're speaking for, and the second is basically to communicate with you while you're talking how much time you have left. So table topics should be 1 to 2 minutes. So at 1 minute, I'll hold up the green card. At 1.5 minutes, I'll hold up the yellow, and at 2 minutes, I'll hold up the red. For icebreaker speeches, they should be 4 to 6 minutes long. So at 4 minutes, I'll hold up the green. At 5 minutes, I'll hold up the yellow. And at 6 minutes, I'll hold up the red. For the longer speeches, which are 5 to 7 minutes, I'll hold up the green card at 5 minutes, the yellow card at 6 minutes, and the red card at 7. And finally, for the evaluations, they should be 2 to 3 minutes long. So at 2 minutes, I'll hold up the green card. At 2.5 minutes, I'll hold up the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I'll hold up the red card. Thank you. Paper. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. I caught it. I caught it that time. Today, we are celebrating National Black Poetry Day, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that. As a young girl, they gave me this book, and they told me to read these words, and I realized that I liked the way the words moved. And if you notice, when I do speeches, I kind of do speeches in rhythm and rhyme. That's from my writing poetry days. And when I saw that it was National Black Poetry Day, I wanted to be Toastmaster today because I wanted to bring out the benefit and the significance of that. So I'm not going to take up too much of time, but I wanted to first talk about Langston Hughes. He wrote a poem ironically called Dreams, and it says, hold fast to dreams, for if the dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen with snow. Langston Hughes was born 1901 to 1967. He wrote a plethora of poems, stories, and plays. And he was noted for being the poet laureate for the Negro race. He was never given that role officially, but that's what we know him as our father of Black poetry. And with that, I'm going to move us on into our wonderful part of our agenda, where we get to hear those who have also prepared speeches to enlighten us, maybe on poetry tonight, but maybe not. But today we have our first speaker, and it is Colin Steffer. He is Toastmaster Colin. He is on Pathways Dynamic Leadership Level 2, and his speech is 5 to 7 minutes. And the title of his speech is Rain, Rain, Go Away.
Sorry. Picture this. It's a beautiful fall day. Cloudless skies, a light breeze, temperatures in the high 60s. Just perfect. But suddenly that begins to change. Clouds roll in, becoming darker and more ominous. And then rain begins to fall, starting lightly, but then building to a steady downpour. You stand up and walk over to your window and look outside. And you see water beginning to pool up in the street. Maybe it's even beginning to flow like a little stream, wherever gravity is encouraging it. Fellow Toastmasters and awesome guests, I am not a betting man, but if I had to wager, I would suspect that most of you do not spend very much time thinking about where the water that falls from the sky goes after it hits the ground. Fortunately, however, in the city of Charlotte, there are about 250 individuals who think about that very issue for 40 hours a week, and probably more of their waking hours outside of those 40 hours. Who I'm referring to are stormwater management professionals. Stormwater refers to the water that falls out of the sky, and when it hits the ground and pools up, what happens with it? Tonight, I'd like to describe to you the many ways in which stormwater management is perhaps the most important public service you didn't realize you paid for. And more specifically, I'd like to underscore its importance by addressing 3 aspects of stormwater management. The first of which is the safety that it promotes in our city. The second of which is how it protects our property and the property of local businesses. And finally, how it boosts our environmental health for the benefit of everyone who lives here. Excited? I'll begin with safety. Who here, just by a quick show of hands, has ever driven down a street that has either been lightly flooded or has had, at the very least, a lot of flowing water on it? Now, keep your hands up if, in such circumstances, you drive exactly the same way that you do during dry weather. I see all hands have been lowered. Alan, I see your hand still up a little bit. I see you shaking your hand. You kind of do, kind of don't. I figured we'd have some psychos in here. But unsurprisingly, many of you lowered your hands because we intuitively understand that driving on a wet road poses a safety risk. Stormwater management strives to remove water from public roadways to protect the traveling public that uses them. And it does this through infrastructure, talking about steel and concrete, storm drains, pipelines, things that are designed to drain the water off the street as quickly as possible and convey it away from the street. There's a phenomenon that can occur when you hit a puddle in your car at just the right speed. It's called hydroplaning. And some of you are familiar with this. I see some heads nodding. Just for anyone who isn't, what hydroplaning means is your tire leaves the street and is all of a sudden traveling on the surface of the puddle or small lake of water that might be in the street. And when your tire is not touching the ground, you are not steering the car. The car is steering you. Stormwater infrastructure has existed in its current robust form for about 20 years. And in that time, we have seen a steady decline in the number of deaths caused by hydroplaning incidents. Unfortunately, there's still too many, but there's far less than there used to be for the last 80 years or so before stormwater infrastructure became more widespread. So that is safety. Next, I'd like to talk to you about how stormwater management helps protect property. Just by another quick show of hands, who here has ever been to Bank of America Stadium in Uptown Charlotte, either to see a Panthers game or to go to a concert? So there's some hands here. If you've been there, you know it's a large stadium, right? Holds about 75, 80,000 people. It's big. Did you know that when it rains in the city of Charlotte, and I mean the entirety of the city of Charlotte, when Charlotte receives 1 inch of rain, that is enough water to fill Bank of America Stadium from the playing surface all the way up to the top row in the nosebleeds 16 times. 16 Bank of Americas of water for every 1 inch of rain the city of Charlotte receives. Now, water, as you're probably aware, can be a very destructive force, and you don't have to have 16 Bank of Americas worth of water to realize the destructive capability of water. Small amounts of water have, over long periods of time, carved valleys and gorges into gigantic mountain ranges. The soil supporting your foundation around your home doesn't stand a chance against very much water. So all that storm drainage infrastructure in the street that helps drain it away quickly and convey it away from the street, it's also conveying it away from homes and businesses to protect your property, property of the establishments that you care about, and make your community your community. The final reason why stormwater management is so essential is for protecting environmental health. One more quick hand-raising poll for you all. Who here has ever stood in their driveway or in a parking lot and seen a small puddle of water that had a shiny rainbow-like tint to it? And what causes that tint, Renee?
Petroleum.
Petroleum, that's right. Petroleum, oil, just one of many contaminants that you're likely to find in a street. There are plenty of other bad things that are on the surface of streets that you don't want in your water. And yet when the street fills up with water, it picks up all of those things and carries it with it for as long as it will travel. Therefore, it is very important that storm drainage infrastructure is placed in spots that will allow it to capture water off of the street as quickly as possible. And in doing so, it will limit the amount of time that that water has to pick up all of that bad crap and take it down into the underground network of storm drain pipes. The reason that is so important, which you might not realize, perhaps you do, is that storm pipes do not lead to a water treatment plant that treats what you flush down your toilet or goes down your sink drain. No, no, no. Those pipes lead in almost 99% of cases to the nearest stream. So the water in that stream will flow inevitably to larger bodies of water, and larger bodies of water still, which in almost 99% of cases here in the Charlotte region is going to be to the Catawba River. The Catawba River is where we draw our drinking water from. So it is very important that we protect the quality of our small streams. Now you might be wondering, well, why don't we just send it to a water treatment plant? My response to you, would you like your water and sewer bill, which David Jones, I'm looking for David Jones, he's right there in the center, loves to complain is too high. David, how would you like to quadruple the size of your water and sewer bill? When it comes to treating water and keeping our waterways clean, an ounce of prevention is worth much, 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 much more than the cure. It's much easier to change behaviors than account for bad ones. So that's why we have to keep our surface waters clean. And something that you can do about that is minimize your use of fertilizer if you own a house and have a yard. You can pick up your dog poop if you have a dog. Please pick that dog poop up for many reasons, but that is also not intended to make its way into rivers. It can disrupt the local ecology, which has downstream effects on the quality of water, which inevitably leads to our drinking water sources. So please do bear that in mind. All right, in summary, stormwater management, your new favorite public service, is important for 3 reasons. Number 1, it helps protect you and other motorists on the roadways. Number 2, It helps protect your property and properties that you like to visit or care about. And number three, it helps preserve the integrity of our surface waters, which are the waters that you will eventually drink. Next time it rains, you find yourself staring out the window, or if you are on a walk with your dog, picking up your poop as you go, and you come across a storm drain, whisper a quiet little thank you to it. It is a humble public servant, and it does a very important job. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. He always makes water sound exciting. Stuff that I never wanted to know. I know, like he just called on a fellow coworker, and petroleum is why we see the beautiful rainbow. Okay. That took me by surprise. So thank you, Colin, for another educational, inspiring message on how we should take care of our water. And so with that, we're going to move on to Toastmaster Dana Robinson. She is our new Toastmaster, and she's doing Pathways Presentation Mastery, Level 1. And her project title today is Selling a Business, Important Transitions. Her speech is 5 to 7 minutes. We have you all ready.
Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster. My firm is providing a continuing education course in November for insurance agents, and I'm one of the presenters. Our course is titled The Ultimate Guide to Buying and Selling an Insurance Agency, which I know you're all really excited about. Because my presentation is 30 minutes long, I've broken it up into 3 10-minute presentations that I'm doing over the course of 3 weeks here. Last week, I covered letters of intent. This week, I will be covering the different types of deal structures that you can choose from. And next week, I'll be covering what happens at closing and the transitions that come after closing. As with my previous speeches, I think all my speeches here, I'm going to ask you to please pretend to be insurance agency owners, play along with my questions in whatever way you find most entertaining, and we'll go from there. With that, let's get started. By show of hands, how many of you are here because you fantasize about selling your insurance agency for many millions of dollars? All right. All right. And how many of you are here because you fantasize about acquiring another insurance agency and multiplying your annual revenue and also swimming in money? All right, a couple of people want to do that too. For the next couple of hours, we're going to explain how you can do just that. But before we get started, I want you to imagine that you've met your goals. You're swimming in money. And I have a couple of important questions. I need a few volunteers to tell me. First, where are you going to go on vacation? And second, what extravagant, completely unnecessary thing are you going to buy with all this money? Do I have a volunteer? Yes. New Zealand and a zebra. I love it. Do we have any other volunteers? Trips, ridiculous purchases? Yes. Hawaii and an island. Okay, perfect. Anyone else? I know someone wants a yacht. Someone always says it every time. Your company plane? Fair enough. NetJets sometimes does not cut it. All right. Well, these are all spectacular ideas. And I want you to know that your dreams are both achievable and well-deserved. I've told some of you this before. My father was an insurance agent, so I get how hard this industry is. I remember growing up when he would land a client that he may have been prospecting for months, and we would all go to dinner and have a celebration. And I remember when he would not land that client, and there would be moping and Phil Collins playing on a loop. So I know that it's hard. I know that you deserve every success. And I want you to experience that success. So how do you get there? How do you obtain that success? Through planning, through careful preparation. And in terms of buying or selling an insurance agency, we discussed last week, the first step is the letter of intent. The second step is deal structure. I'm gonna have to click ahead, guys, because it's a little bit far behind. We talked about that last week. There we go. Okay. So first step in planning, what kind of deal structure are you going to choose? And it usually comes down to asset sale versus equity sale. What does that mean? Think about it like going to the grocery store. If it's an asset sale, what you're going to do is form a new entity. We're going to call this your company cart. And you're going to go to the grocery store, and it's like grocery shopping on steroids. You're going to basically put everything that's on the shelves in the grocery store into your company cart. You're going to take it home with you. And the advantage of this is if there's anything that you don't want in that store, like I always pass by these weird pickled eggs that are floating in this like pink liquid by the fish. And I'm like, no, I don't know who buys this, and I'm leaving it. So you can do that in an asset sale. You can say no weird pickled eggs here. The other opportunity you have if you don't want to do an asset sale is an equity sale. So this is where you say, okay, Grocery Store Inc. has 1,000 shares in it. I'm going to actually step into the shoes of the owner. I'm going to buy all 1,000 shares. You can basically stand at the door of your supermarket. You now own it. You can wave at your customers. They're all yours. So the next question becomes, which one is better? And like many, many things in life, it comes down to taxes. How many of you like paying taxes? Boo, yeah, no. Oh, okay, Colin likes paying taxes. I will tell you that I don't like paying taxes, and frankly, I don't like explaining taxes, but I'm going to do it for you guys. So in an equity sale, that tends to be better for a seller. Here's why. They tend to get taxed at a 20% tax rate, which is the approximate rate for long-term capital gains. If it's an asset sale, portions of the business are going to be sold at a 37% tax rate. Would you rather pay 20% on your profits or 37%? Probably 20%, right? So why doesn't the buyer just allow you to do an equity sale every time? Well, pretty much as you probably have guessed, it's not so great for the buyer tax-wise. And here's where we get into kind of a complicated issue called depreciation. Buyers want to depreciate their assets over time because it decreases their taxable revenue each year. So what does depreciation mean? I'm going to give you a super exciting example. So Grocery Store Inc., let's say that they need a label maker for their aisles, and it costs $5,000. It's going to last for about 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, you can sell the label maker for about $1,000, which means it'll be worth it has about a $4,000 depreciable value. So you divide that over 5 years, and the IRS lets you reduce your taxable revenue by $800 a year. Sounds great, right? If you're a buyer in an equity sale, because you step into the shoes of the seller, this means that you inherit what they've done with depreciation. So that's not so great for you in this situation, because in year 4 on the label maker, you're taking an $800, write-off of the taxable revenue. Year 5, you can do it again. Year 6, the label maker is almost kaput. You can't take any more taxable revenue deductions, and you have to go replace the thing. So that's not ideal. What you would rather do is an asset sale where you can bump up all of the value of the assets to the purchase price and start depreciating them from year 1, which allows you to have a much better long-term plan for reducing your taxable revenue. So that's the basic reasons, and I'm not a tax lawyer, and I always have to say that because you guys can't go home and sue me for giving you bad tax advice. What are some other considerations? Why might you want equity sale versus asset sale? I will say I like asset sales better because you're not inheriting all the problems of the business. So for example, if a business has bad Google reviews, if a business forgot to pay their licensing fees, if they have tax problems, these are the weird pickled eggs of the business world. And we want to leave them behind, right? It's easier to do if you set up your own new company and you just put what you want in your cart as you're pushing it down the aisle. It's just a little bit easier from that perspective. I often get asked about contracts. You would think it would be easier in an equity sale because the parties are not going to change. I will tell you it's not really the case. Typically in contracts, you're going to have to get consent if the owner changes, even in an equity sale. So it ends up being 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. So in the end, what is better, an equity sale or an asset sale? Well, it goes back to planning, thinking ahead, doing your due diligence. What are your tax needs? What is your business plan? What is better for you? Do you have a company that has a stellar reputation and you'd be lucky to inherit it? Or do you have a company where you really just want to raid the assets and put it in the new company and start over? A little bit of planning goes a long way, as we discussed with letters of intent. And I want you to know, I'm not just telling you guys to please plan ahead and do all this due diligence to nag you. I'm telling you this because I really think you deserve to succeed. I know how hard the insurance industry is. I know that it takes decades to get where you are right now. And I want to see you feel the fruits of everything that you've worked towards. Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dana, another person who can make something exciting that none of us probably ever thought about. So with that being said, I'm going back into evoking you to think about Black Poetry Day. Black Poetry Day is to celebrate a culture of voices, not just one perspective or one thought, but a collective of voices. And so the next person I wanted to talk about, her name is Gwendolyn Brooks. She was born in 1917 and she died in 2000. She was during the Black, and I wanted to go back. Langston Hughes was during what we called the Harlem Renaissance age, and Gwendolyn here is during the Black arts movement. So one of her poems is called We Real Cool. It was in 1959, and it says, we real cool. We left school. We lurk late. We strike straight. We sing sin. We thin gin. We jazz June, and we die soon. And this was all talking about the Black Power Afro years, the time where Black people started speaking up. And when strikes was happening, if you know about Detroit, I'm from Detroit. So the UAW and all that stuff was coming emerging. So if you notice, they was talking about more than just the Black people struggle, but the worker struggle as well. So that was what that was about. And then of course she brought in some music because she liked music. So she was the first Black poet Pulitzer Prize winner, the first Black woman consulate in the poetry to the Library of Congress, or what we now call the Poet Laureate. And she served in Illinois as the Poet Laureate for 32 years, and she published over 40 poems. And with that, I'm going to move our agenda on, and we're going to go into the time where everybody who's here who wants to be, to as much as we have a time for, and I will keep track of that. What you can talk. It's called Table Topics. So I'm going to let our Table Topics Master come up and explain more about that. And so Table Topics Master today is Miriam Wilson.
Thank you. Hello, Toastmasters and honored guests. I'm really excited to lead this portion of the meeting. This is where, as she mentioned, we get to have a little bit more fun, and guests and members are welcome to raise your hand and participate. We usually ask questions during this part of the meeting, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to answer those questions. Today, it's going to be a little bit of an improv where I give you a story situation and you tell a 1 to 2 minute story with the prompt that I give you. And the theme for these table topics is haunted by Halloween decorations, inspired by my daily dog walks in our neighborhood. So I will give you a scenario, what you're doing, and what Halloween decoration will haunt you. And I would like to see what you have to say about that. Who would like to volunteer? Come on up. Hi, Martin. So for the first scenario tonight, you are walking down the sidewalk and there is a 20-foot skeleton. And then I'm supposed to tell a story of how you're haunted by it. There's a
20-foot skeleton?
Yes.
Walking down Central Avenue, right about half mile down that way. And I see this 20-foot skeleton right there, right in front of me. It just pops out of nowhere. And I'm enjoying my daily walk, you know, walking the dog, taking the dog out for a walk. This thing pops up. I'm like, what's going on here? And I start thinking, well, am I going to be scared of it? Am I going to turn away from this challenge that presents itself? No, of course not. I'm going to take it face on. I'm going to attack it. So what do I start doing? I run to the neighbors. I grab the axe from there and I start chopping at the skeleton. Boom, 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 boom. Just like that, one at a time. Before we know it, just like running a marathon, you know, just 1 mile at a time. One. Talking absolute smack here. One chop at a time, you know, and before you know it, it's all gone. And before you know it, me and my dog, Charlie, we're on our way. Right back down Central, back home. Thank you guys.
Thank you. That was an awesome story. Who else would like to tell a story this evening? Come on up.
My name's Adrienne.
Adrienne, welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh, I apologize. So you are camping in the woods and there is a haunted tree trunk.
I was camping in the woods about 3 weeks ago, and there was a haunted tree trunk. I was very glad that I saw it indeed, because my pesky neighbor was with me. And so I decided to scare my neighbor by making a trail of breadcrumbs that led to the tree trunk. My neighbor became perplexed, and a horrible scream was evoked from its chest. And I am very glad that I scared my neighbor, because now my neighbor is a very friendly person. My neighbor is no longer cantankerous, and I now know their name, and their name is Bartholomew. Me and Bartholomew gets along very well now. We go to the park, we feed pigeons, and we also build houses made out of gingerbread. I'm glad for that haunted tree trunk. It changed my life, and it's made my stay here in Charlotte so much better.
Thank you, Adrienne. All right, would anyone else like to tell a short story? Yes, come on. Welcome, Momita. Your scenario is driving your car through a poorly lit neighborhood, and there is a giant spider in a giant spider web. Or in the area, whatever.
Thank you, Toastmaster, and yeah, yeah. I yeah, I was driving, and I'm not that a good driver, but suddenly a spider came on my windshield, and what I found was the spider was able to talk to me, so that scared me a lot. And the spider was talking in my own language. It was not an alien language, but it was my own language, and it was a very had a very good sense of humor, and somehow it calmed me down, and it gave me instruction on how to drive it safe. And then when I parked my car, we exchanged hello, and then the spider went away. Thank you.
Thank you. That was an awesome story. Do we have time for another one? No. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Miriam. We're gonna have to evoke you to do that again. That was great. I think we're talking about doing something special, and I think she's gonna be the perfect candidate for it. So next we have on our agenda is our time for our time speeches to get feedback. And sometimes, you know, you hear you speak or you do something new or you jump out there and then you're like, did I do well? Well, the best way to know is to get an evaluation. So now we're going over to our general evaluation. And today, our general evaluator, flip the page, and you can do that with me, is Toastmaster Allison Brugge. I'm not going to do it. Broglie. So welcome to Toastmaster Allison.
Thank you so much. Going to start out with the evaluation portion of the meeting, and I will be bringing up each evaluator to evaluate the prepared speeches. I'm first going to bring up Vanessa, who will be evaluating Colin. Oh, online. There we go.
Hi. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm joining on my phone. I apologize. But thank you so much, Colin, for giving us an excellent speech. I have to say, even as your coworker, I was really impressed with your speaking abilities, especially after you joined Queen City Toastmasters. And tonight was absolutely no exception. I loved so many things about your speech that I had to spend most of my time thinking of anything you could possibly improve. So to start with, I'll start with some of the things you did really well that are exemplary for the rest of us Toastmasters. One thing that you did that stood out is you had a really clear structure to your speech. This is something I sometimes struggle with, but you had three really great main points. You talked about stormwater, protecting public health and safety. You talked about protecting property, and you finished off with talking about the environment and pollution. And for each example, for each topic, you had supporting evidence. So basically, you structured your speech like a 5-paragraph essay from back in grade school. And it may seem like a kind of ordinary, boring structure for a speech, but I'll tell you, it's very effective. And it helps us concentrate on your main message. Another thing I love about your general style of speaking that really came through tonight as well is the way that you use inflection. This is an often overlooked skill, but the best speeches, in my opinion, often have a very conversational tone. And part of that has to do with inflection. For instance, if I was to raise my inflection like I just did, you pay attention. You sort of think, okay, what's coming next? What's the end goal of this phrase? And by doing that consistently as you were talking, you just had a very conversational, easy, and relaxed feeling to your speech. And I think what that does is it creates trust. We all got to relax and just listen to you and say, okay, this is clearly someone who's relaxed and knows what they're talking about. In this case, you knew all about stormwater. And I also know how much you know, having been coworkers. But it was great to have that come through in your speech. Another thing you did well is imagery. I'm a sucker for imagery. I guess I have an active imagination, but I love imagery in speeches because it's easy to zone out sometimes when you've had a long day and you're listening to a speech. But what you did is you used specific images. For instance, you talked about people driving on the road when it's raining. You had that audience engagement to bring us into the time and space where you were describing this road, and we could all picture the floodwaters. We could almost hear the rain pouring down. The imagery really brought your speech to life, I should say, and to light for all of us who are learning more about how to be good speakers. And, you know, that's something I value because I guess I'm a visual thinker, but even if you're not a visual thinker, it goes back to storytelling, and people have shown storytelling to be very effective in speaking. In terms of improvements, all I can think of is if you wanted to target your speech more to a very specific audience, you might want to tweak it. For instance, if you're talking to a bunch of engineers, you might have to throw in some more technical details and numbers and really make it sound like you were considering every last numerical detail. But for a general audience like Toastmasters, you did a great job. So that would be one thing to consider, is just tailoring that speech to make sure it's not too high level and too general for your audience. All in all, excellent job, and I look forward to hearing you speak again. And I'll turn it back over to our general evaluator.
Thanks to you so much, Vanessa, for that evaluation of Colin. I am now going to bring up David Jones, who will be evaluating Dana.
Thank you, Allison. And thank you, Dana, for your speech. I'm here to evoke my feedback for you. There you go. First, you engage the audience by asking questions, but you went a step further, which I think is great, where you asked individuals specific questions. And I think that's important down the road because you could always go back to their answers as a relatable subject. So the fact that you asked them specific questions, I think was great. I've been in the insurance business for 25 years, workers' comp, and I know it can be mundane, but your supermarket analogy was relatable to everybody, especially when you're talking about assets and equity and just talking about just being able to go to the grocery store and shopping. And then you brought up the pickled eggs, which I didn't know that was still a thing. I didn't know we still had, I don't know where you shop. I haven't seen any pickled eggs where I shop, but maybe 7-Eleven. I don't know who has pickled eggs, but it was relatable. So it kind of drew the audience in. Now, room for improvement, because I've heard a few of your speeches like that. When I sit in the back or any evaluator sits in the back, that means you're going to need to project. And I had a little hard time hearing you, especially with that HVAC, but that's part of the joy of this room is you get to practice projecting louder and louder. The slides, I've said it before, if people are reading your slides, they're not listening to what you're saying. So maybe try to reduce them a little bit instead of having exactly what you're saying on the slide, just have PowerPoints that they could look at. And then finally, you had the mic, you had your little controller for the slides, you had your notes. So it was hard to move away from the lectern. But like Tim Trumbull, DTM says, you don't have to use the stage just to use the stage. So I thought it was okay with you just standing here presenting. So that was a good thing. And then finally, you had a positive and encouraging speech. It was a relatable where you're kind of building up your audience saying, you can do this, you can make a lot of money. And if they like you, then they're also going to be your clients. So it was a great speech. So we look forward to next week to hear the, I guess, conclusion is next week. So thank you very much. And back to you, General Evaluator.
We are now going to go to the timers report. I'm going to bring up Tanishi to let us know how we did in our time today.
So everyone was on time for the most part. Dana said she had a 10-minute speech, so I timed it 8 to 10 minutes, and you were at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Colin, as promised, went a little over at 9 minutes and 37 seconds. For table topics, Martin was at 1 minute and 9 seconds. Adrian was at 1 minute and 10 seconds, and Momito was at 57 seconds, so really close. Vanessa, I apologize. You did go a little over at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, but I realized that was a little bit of my fault because I didn't realize you couldn't see the cards. And then David, you were on time at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now going to give my evaluation of the meeting as a whole. Did anybody here or outside challenge themselves today? Raise a hand. Anything we do to challenge ourselves? I try to challenge myself on a daily basis. And actually being the general evaluator tonight was a challenge for me. I have done this before at many other meetings, but what you might notice is when you go into a different space and things are in a slightly different order than you're used to, it can feel a little nerve-wracking. But when I saw that there was still an opening last night, I said, I'm taking the opportunity to jump in, and very glad that I did. What I really like about the space here is the beginning of each meeting, you always review where the bathrooms are, where everything is. I think that's great for someone that's new. Again, when I came last week for my first time, I didn't have any questions. I felt very comfortable here. I love, again, how you introduce all the guests. Always makes everybody feel like they are very welcome. And this can at first feel like an intimidating space. We all know after we come a lot, it's not. But again, anytime maybe we're challenging ourselves to do something new, it can feel like that. So really appreciate how we start the beginning of the meeting like that. What I have loved my many years of doing Toastmasters is how I always feel in almost every meeting inspired or I learned something. And I loved how we had our inspiration at the beginning about voting. It's always important to bring it back in our mind. We know it, but to bring it to the forefront and hearing the history of it is also really beneficial. Hearing about the Black poets that I am not familiar with, that's something that I learned a lot from you tonight. And then for our prepared speeches, Dana, it's been great. I've actually heard 3 of her speeches. And even though I come from the insurance industry, always have learned a lot from her. And also from Colin, I knew very little about stormwater management, and very fortunate I got to learn that here tonight. Love table topics, seasonal, and it was also a way of bringing storytelling in, which I think is such an important tool and skill and challenging to know how to do. And finally, I think we're going to end on time tonight. I like to say why time is important. I earlier this year went to hear John Maxwell speak in Columbia. I spent $100. I was in between jobs. And so this was actually, for me at that time, a lot of money. And he was a great speaker and he had 10 points he wanted to speak out, but he was not good with his time and had to finish at the hour. And we only got through 0.7. And it was leaving me wanting something more. And that's why there is an importance of time. And so I think we're going to stick to it tonight. Thanks for a greet me. I'm going to pass it back to our Toastmaster of the day. Oh, sorry. No, I'm not. I forgot the grammarian. Just going to pass it over to Jamie for the grammarian. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Nice job, everybody. I thought that was very clean throughout all of our speakers. I'll hit some of the things that I thought were particularly effective from a language perspective. So Bill, I love that quote, you get the government you deserve, right? You show up, you vote, and you get what you deserve. If you don't vote, then you can't complain. Colin, I love that you gave us a reminder to whisper a quiet thank you to the inanimate objects in our life that add so much value. And Dana, I really enjoyed actually the pickled eggs metaphor. I think that's a great way to get people thinking about the complexities, the things that you don't know until you get into it. And then you like open it after 5 years of sitting in the back of the pantry, and it's just terrible, right? So I thought that was really useful and effective way to bring humor into your speech as well. In terms of filler words, again, great job overall. Cameron, a few so's, but overall fantastic. Bill, very few, very clean. Tanishi, a few ums at the beginning, but great job in your first role overall. Fantastic. Andrea, clean as always, as well as the word of the day. Colin, very clean. Dana, very clean. Miriam, no filler words in your opening remarks. So again, fantastic job for one of your early roles. A few ums then when you started asking some of the questions and speaking a little bit more improvisationally. Martin, maybe our first time ever with filler laughs as opposed to filler words, but again, that actually brings something fun to your particular comments. Adrian, I didn't hear much. Mamita, I didn't hear much. Allison, really clean, nice use of pauses throughout. A great example for many of us. Vanessa, I heard one and David, a couple uhs and ums. But overall, again, fantastic job. Oh, word of the day. Mamita, word of the day. David, word of the day. Thank you.
Now I will pass it back to the Toastmaster of the day, Andrea.
So I have a surprise for you guys. So I snuck them in. So we have someone that is a local celebrity. He's the coolest, one of the coolest poets that I know. His name is, he was born as Boris Rogers, but we know him as Blues in the poet community. He's sitting in the back. He just snuck in. He snuck in on me because I had just moved and texted her, "Are you still coming?" So I wanted to bring him up because he is the growth of what we call the poetry slam or the slam poetry movement. So I'm going to bring him in. If he didn't come, I had a quote from him, but I'm going to let him speak for himself. We're going to give him a couple of 2 to 3 minutes to come up and let us have it for a minute. I forgot to tell you guys, he is from Charlotte. So welcome our poet laureate from Charlotte.
Hello. Is this microphone for them? Okay, okay. I was like, because I hear nothing back there with this. My name is Blues, spoken word artist, slam master for Slam Charlotte. We're a 3-time National Poetry Slam champions, the only team to ever do so, and we're from Charlotte. So again, if the Hornets or Panthers don't do anything for you, you've got a championship team in us. I thank you so much for the invite. I've never been to a Toastmasters event, so I did not know what to expect. I almost put on a suit and tie because it sounded fancy, but I didn't do that. I think can I do a quick poem and then, okay, cool. So I am a girl dad. I said a lot. I don't know who's in charge of the ums. Yes. Okay, so good. All right, so listen. I am, as they say, a girl dad, and I wrote this for my daughter when she was 3. So, to all the women warriors, freedom fighters, ballroom brawl divas brandishing brass knuckles while wearing an evening gown, to any lady who's ever laced up a corset or combat boots, packed a piece in her purse or stiletto to match your stiletto heels, congratulations. You have been reborn in the body and soul of my 3-year-old. She's a walking street fight, toughest toddler at her daycare. She knows that nap time is for suckers. Because someone has to stay up and keep watch over the toys, cookies, and juice. She is living proof that you don't have to teach kids loyalty. Because during a routine pillow fight where I made her older sister cry, she turned on me with all fury in her eyes, came at me, and bit me. Just above the knee. Boy, did it hurt. But I can tell you it's the most honest emotion that I've ever felt. It was a message left in tooth imprint. It was almost articulate as her saying, "Don't you ever mess with my big sister again, y'all." That fight, that ambition to defend transcended any relationship between daughter and father, and that didn't bother me a bit because she only saw the danger and reacted to it. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I'll probably get a few phone calls from the principal's office about how my daughter tried to fight some chick 2 times her size because this chick came out her mouth sideways about her big sis, and this will be completely expected. Nothing less from the lion-hearted. To rush into a burning building of situations, to shoot first and wait till later to ask the who, what, and why questions. Ladies, she will be the kind of friend that you cannot give all of the information. Because she'll be outside your lover's house waiting with a brick about the size of justified revenge, ready to fight them in front of their friends, and will call the police if she doesn't win. But until then, she's my little Napoleon complex with sippy cup. Hands just big enough to hold my heart and stolen cookie from low counter. The counter reaction to every fear I've ever had as a dad, wondering if somebody is going to try to steal a kiss or her heart, and chances are they will, but not before they taste her temper. Recognize that she is a fighter and won't be swept away by their charming breeze. She already owns the wind. She came into this world a hurricane, a natural force to be reckoned with. She can hold pain like women wear a wedding dress. They should be lucky to even know her name. To know for the sake of everything she loves dearly, she would fight her own father, tooth and nail, literally. So to every woman who's ever held a fist in defense of the helpless, congratulations. Your fight still lives. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I ran into him. Ever since I met him, he became one of our butterfly friends, and we just appreciate him for coming out tonight. And he saved me because I didn't have to do my poem, but I will put it on our Facebook. So if you're looking for my poem, it'll be on Facebook. Well, not Facebook, it'll be on Instagram, on our Instagram this evening. But tonight was just a night where we got to celebrate words coming together strong to just give out the different perspectives, the different messages, the different stories of a people, my people, Black people. Happy Black Poetry Day. And I'm going to turn this over to our illustrious president, Dr. Eric Laxer.
Andrea Williams, everybody, thank you so much for an amazing evening. And what a special treat. Thank you for being with us tonight as well. Couple of things that I'd like to take care of as we wind down. The first is, I don't think we've officially welcomed Brian, who is one of our new members who's been here several weeks in a row, but we usually call people up and give them their Toastmasters ribbons. Did we do that for you yet? Give it up for Brian as we welcome a new member. Yes, thank you, Colin. All right, awesome. Second thing is we still have a few minutes and we would like to continue with our Toastmasters tradition of interviewing our guests, but I would like to acknowledge somebody that David already pointed out. We have a former member of Queen City here, Mr. Tim Trumbull, and we will give you a chance at the end as the last guest to just say a few words if you'd like to share something with us. And with that, I will hand the microphone back over to Colin. Remember, Allison said we will finish on time today, and so we will finish on time, hopefully.
Not if I have something to say about it. Thank you very much. You had a great time tonight. Awesome. This was an awesome meeting. Ended with some fantastic local poetry, real showmanship. Thank you very much for bringing your passion and your talents to us, sir. Looks like we have a guest online tonight, Eric. You might have snuck in before we did our initial, or after we did our initial round of introductions. Would you mind just introducing yourself for us, share where you're from, what brought you out tonight, and any reflections that you have about the meeting?
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Eric Schneider. I am the Vice President of Public Relations with AM Lockport Toastmasters up in Lockport, New York. David Jones is also one of our elite members, and we were very fortunate enough to have him join us in person last week at our Toastmasters meeting at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. That's what time our meetings are every Thursday. And I've been a Toastmaster for over 7 years, and this is a fun journey to be a part of. I have been a guest before with Queen City. I know some familiar faces like Vanessa, Elvis, and David, and good to hear some great stories tonight. Poetry, and as well, I am a big fan of poetry. I have done some poetry readings a lot of times during the pandemic. So it's just great to hear some wonderful poetry reading, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So, but it was great to be here, and thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you joining Brother Eric from New York. Most welcome to come down and visit us in person sometime if you're ever in the area. Henry, what did you think of tonight's meeting, and what's something nice that you have to say about your very delightful mother?
I found a lot of the speeches very touching, and I really liked my mom's speech. It was very informative.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Toastmaster of the future right here. Alex, question for you. We heard about pickled eggs and weird things you can find on the shelves of American grocery stores. What's the weirdest thing you can find on the shelf of a Canadian grocery store, and have you eaten it?
I believe, at least in name, to be the most unique or weird sounding is in Canada. One of the most popular chip flavor is ketchup. Is that right, Martin? That's right. And it sounds like it wouldn't be good, but it's actually one of the most popular kinds. And as a kid, I loved it. Now when I'm older, when I eat it, it does not taste very good, but that's what I would say.
And I'm a little confused. Is it like barbecue chips, but just ketchup powder?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Do you enjoy it?
Not anymore, but as a kid, you know, they were the best.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Jack. This was your first meeting. Did it live up to expectations?
Yeah, it definitely did, and I'll be back next week. Also, I'm in the insurance industry as well, so I got a couple people to talk to after this. One of the the best topics out there.
Yeah, this is just a weekly insurance convention that we hold here with a side of public speaking. But I'm going to come back to our members who didn't speak tonight and former members at the end, Tim. Adrian, as David pointed out earlier in the meeting, you have inched your way closer to us. Are we growing on you?
Yes, but I like the pews better than the tables. The pews are more comfortable. So I just realized that, people kept thinking I was afraid. I'm not really afraid. I'm just trying to talk less because I talk a lot at school. So I'm not scared of you guys.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. These seats could be a little bit more comfortable. Sure. Jamie, do we have anything in the budget for a little bench desk for? Oh, okay. What if we got you an armchair and put you on stage?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do with that. So thank you very much for coming back. Renee, your first meeting. What'd you think?
Yeah, it's cool.
All right. Did it live up to expectations, or did you just have no idea what you were getting into?
Yeah, I didn't have any expectations, so it's far succeeded, surpassed anything that I guess I could have expected.
Okay. Is there anything that you thought you might see but you didn't see that you want to see?
No, because I didn't have any expectations. There's nothing that I thought I was going to see and didn't see or want to see.
All right. Will you be joining us again at some point?
I guess so. Yeah, I'll probably check it out again.
All right. Well, it was delightful having you. Thank you for coming. Tim, first thing I admired about you when you walked in was that delightful key lime shirt. So in addition to being a fashion icon, what brought you back out tonight? Is there something going on in your life that's pulling you back toward Toastmasters, or you just wanted to check in and see how the club's doing since the Tim era has gone by?
Well, actually, it's a little bit of both. I had the opportunity to come by this evening. I haven't visited in a while, and I thought I might be able to just kind of maybe sneak in a couple of minutes after things opened and not get recognized, which means I got to talk to somebody. But I did, but it's a treat to be here. Queen City Toastmasters is a real passion for me. I joined this organization originally in 2000. And long story short, things took me away from my ability to participate as of about 2017. Doesn't mean I've lost interest in the organization. And this club is truly special to me. When I first came to this club, I had originally been a member of Monday 6-0, which is a wonderful, wonderful club. And we had a point at which this club was struggling to the point where the district was considering shutting the club down. Well, several people stepped up. I was asked to come over to Queen City as a club advisor, as part of the national program. The district, I guess it's now district director, used to be district governor, can ask a specific member to come over as an advisor to help rebuild the club. There were 6 people in this club at that point in time, but they were absolutely dedicated to rebuilding this club and bringing it back to where it should be. I hope y'all realize that you belong to the oldest active Toastmasters club in the Charlotte area. If memory serves me right, it was 1954, which means next year is the 70th anniversary of this club. Get ready to celebrate because you certainly deserve it. The thing that I saw tonight that impressed me most is best summed up by the single phrase, Queen City is alive and well. Some wonderful Toastmasters here, dedicated to improving their own communication and leadership skills, which is what this is all about. Honestly, I've got a bit of a learning curve to go because the program was just changing as I had to leave in 2017. So it gives me maybe a thought, maybe I ought to come back. I'm going to give that some thought. No promises yet, but it is great to see this club thriving the way it is. It deserves to be this way. And by having this kind of spirit, I know I'm blowing your prediction about closing on time. I'm sorry, Alice. Well, you do realize DTM does not stand for Distinguished Toastmaster. It stands for Don't Time Me. It's great to see this club thriving and growing, and you're doing it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. with peer support, by providing that atmosphere where it's okay to fall flat on your face. So go ahead and do it. And don't be afraid to take that extra little step. If you're making a presentation that maybe is a little technical, maybe something that might come across as boring to a lot of people, good trick is to add some humor to it. You can never go wrong by adding humor to a speech, but go ahead and ramp it up, especially if you're speaking to a group of people who are industry insiders. Gives you a great opportunity to throw some inside jokes that maybe an outside audience wouldn't understand. So you've got a great opportunity there. And don't be afraid to be a little over the top in your vocal expression. That was a key thing during the old program. Your vocal variety was actually a specific topic to work on. And we actually got a mini masterclass on that tonight from Blues over here. His expressiveness was absolutely incredible. Thank you, my friend, for doing that. So once again, this club is thriving. It's living the way it should be. You have an honored history here. There have been many district governors, district directors come from this club. There have been many people who have come from here to go on to all kinds of different careers where those speaking skills took them forward in their careers. I can name several people just off the top of my head who would give their experience in Toastmasters direct credit for the promotions and the advancement that they received in their careers. So everybody, especially to the visitors, you're in the right place. You are in the right place. This is the place where you can grow and will grow if you want to. You will have the support of an amazing group of people who are here for the very same purpose that you are. Like I said, you can still fall flat on your face, which is one of the great things. You can do that. And there's always, when it comes to that, one last thing, when it comes to falling flat on your face, I honestly forget off the top of my head who originally said it, but it was one of the world champions of public speaking. I think it was Jim Key. He demonstrated that if you fall flat on your face, when you get up, you're already a couple of steps ahead of where you were. So Queen City, stay with it. You are history. You are continuing to make history. It's a great group of people, and it has evoked a great number of wonderful memories to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for those very, very wise words, Tim. Queen City alumni, guests, alumni alike, always welcome here at the club. Alan, notice that you did not speak tonight, my friend. Would you tell us if you think Halloween is overrated or underrated?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Colin, for that very interesting question. The younger me didn't really celebrate Halloween, but the older me definitely gets into it. I don't know what I'm going to go as for Halloween this year, but LPL Financial is doing its big Halloween bash next Friday, and the theme is Wizard of Oz. So I don't know what I'm going to do for that. I might just do my own thing because I like to spend my money on other things as opposed to costumes I'm only going to wear once. But I'll throw something together. But more importantly than that, just to piggyback on what all the other veteran Toastmasters have said, we've obviously heard from a lot of people who have been Toastmasters for other clubs. And just to pass the message along to all of our guests or newer members, it's a big community. It goes way beyond these four walls or any other four walls of a normal club. And not to sugarcoat it, but even as we emerge past COVID, a lot of clubs and a lot of districts are still struggling, both in terms of membership, attendance, and finances. And I'm a firm believer in the power of social media. And I think once you get what you want out of Toastmasters, continue to come and develop your craft, because you never really become an expert per se. There's always something you can learn. but I'm also a firm believer in paying it forward. And if you really feel like you got something out of Toastmasters, whether it's just from tonight's meeting or just in general, go on Facebook, go on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and share your experience. Because the more you share your experience, the more other people get to hear about it, and then they will ask questions that want to come themselves. And let's be honest, it takes a big village to keep not just this club going, but the whole organization going. And the only way that we'll be able to do bigger and better events is to keep the organization growing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. So speaking of alumni who have re-enrolled in school, we've got Avinash, who's on the books now as a member of the club once more. Avinash, in this segment of Let's Get to Know You, I'd like to ask, we've heard a lot about weird things to eat tonight, oddly, like pickled eggs. Is there anything that you like to eat that other people might find weird, but you just take pleasure in?
I like to eat Indian food. I'm not sure how many of you have tasted, Indian food. I like dal rice. I'm not sure how many of you have, tasted it, but I really love it. Yeah.
Hands up if you like Indian food. Hands down. Hands up if you've never tried Indian food. All right. Well, awesome. Glad to hear it, Avinash. All right, last one, Brian. Newer member Brian, you have not spoken tonight, sir. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to disrupt the plan. What's something that you have observed, if you have observed anything, that you think Toastmasters have in common that people outside of Toastmasters, if you just pulled a random cross section of people off the street, might not have in common?
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. I think that there's just it's just that you give somebody an extra second to to fall flat on their face, as I'm doing right now, and and just you really just the supportive aspect of it is just doesn't everybody understands where each other is coming from, and I just don't think you have that in the you don't have that kind of support network in the just with regular strangers on the street. So that's why I don't know. I think it's great.
All right, I've abused time long enough. Dr. Laxer.
Thank you, Colin. Very well said. We will be done in about 90 seconds. Elvis, our VP of membership, is online. Elvis, do you have any announcements, words of encouragement, information you need to share with our members here? Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Eric, and good evening, everyone. Since we're running out of time, I would be carefully and brief. Just remind everyone that I'm available to help you out in your pathways. Please make sure, all of the members, that you choose your pathway, and if you have already selected your pathways, go on and start working on your projects. Please, if you have any questions or anything that we need that you need help with, do not hesitate to reach out to me or any of the officers for any help, and we are here to continue working together on your advancement and us as a club. So great meeting, everyone. Great speeches, great evaluations, and I see a great participation from all of the members and guests. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Elvis. As we close, I just want to share with everybody details about Andrea's event, which is coming up November 4th. And if you're interested in learning more about it, then please check with her. If you look at the bottom left, it's not very large, but Andrea's picture is on there. So she is one of the featured speakers. And finally, I want to challenge everybody here between now and our next meeting, do something nice for somebody that wasn't expected. Not creepy, but nice. As we all can do a small part to make this world
a better place. And with that, I look forward to seeing everybody next Tuesday. Cheers.